night, at the direction of President Biden, two F-15 fighter jets launched airstrikes in eastern Syria at that weapons facility that is used by Iran's Revolutionary Guard and proxy forces that are backed by Iran. They were in response to attacks by those groups on U.S. troops in both Syria and Iraq. Over 40 in the last 3 weeks alone that have injured nearly 50 American service members. And just today, U.S. troops were attacked again in Syria. And in another sign of the increased tensions in the region, an American Reaper drone costing about $30 million was shot down in the Red Sea by the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. They had fired missiles last month toward Israel, which were shot down by a U.S. naval ship. President Biden has repeatedly warned Iran, a longtime adversary of Israel, against getting involved in the war in the Middle East.
The U.S. will announce Operation Prosperity Guardian tomorrow, and the operation will be an international effort to deal with the Houthis and their continued attacks on commercial shipping. The coalition reportedly includes Jordan, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Bahrain, Norway, France, the UK, and America, just to name a few. And the U.S. is even trying to get China to join the coalition. And this is happening because at least 5 massive shipping companies, including the world's largest shipping company and several oil companies, are avoiding the Red Sea due to Houthis attacks. And so shipping costs and oil prices are expected to skyrocket if companies have to start going around Africa instead of using the Suez. And in response, you have the Houthis saying this alliance will be the dirtiest in history. And all this is the U.S. is reportedly weighing the option of striking the Houthis directly, with the USS Eisenhower, right, an aircraft carrier being ordered out of the Persian Gulf into the Red Sea, traveling over 2,000 miles in less than a week as the U.S. prepares for the potential action. And the USS Laboon has now entered the Red Sea, joining the Mason and Carney, with the U.S. also sending 3 more destroyers to the Mediterranean, and U.S. Central Command tweeted a picture of an A-10 preparing to launch in what appears to be a not-so-subtle subtweet to the Houthis. And over the weekend, we saw the USS Carney shooting down a swarm of 14 drones, with France and the UK also shooting down drones this past week. And this is the Houthis claim they're only attacking Israeli-affiliated ships and ships heading to Israeli ports. However, they have struck several ships that have nothing to do with Israel. But hey, follow to stay in the loop.
In the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, Yemen finds itself entangled in a complex tapestry of conflict. At the center of this storm are the Houthis, a Shiite Muslim terrorist group whose origins trace back to the rugged mountains of the north. Officially known as Ansar Allah, supporters of Allah, the Houthi slogan reads, "God is the greatest. Death to America, death to Israel. A curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam." Since the early 2000s, the Houthi movement has been a key player in Yemen's tumultuous landscape, engaging in insurgency against both Yemeni government forces and Saudi Arabia. In 2019, their tactics escalated with intensified drone and missile attacks into Saudi Arabia, reshaping dynamics in the region and amplifying tensions. The Houthis are backed by Iran, who have provided the group with weapons and technology, using the Houthis as a proxy to wage war on Israel and their allies. After the Israel-Hamas war began in October of 2023, the Houthis declared war on Israel, supporting Iran's other terrorist proxy, Hamas. The Houthis fired ballistic missiles into southern Israel and soon began launching attacks on Israeli-linked commercial ships in the Red Sea. Approximately 12 ships have been attacked by Houthis in the Red Sea since November of 2023. This narrow stretch of sea, which runs into the Suez Canal in northern Egypt, accounts for 12% of global trade flows, including 30% of global container traffic. If the Houthis continue to stop trade flows through the Red Sea, this will be catastrophic for the West, as oil prices will surge if ships will now be required to go all the way around Africa.
Shalom, Kahala Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai, Ba'Shem Rakah Pardash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Israel. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the ramping up of armed forces over in East Asia, also known as the Middle East. But before we delve more into that, let's read this first. This is Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Right here in the book of Revelation, John the Revelator was given a vision of the end days, the time that we are currently living through. And John seen the 3 world wars that were going to break out under these Edomites' empire, or should I say under their control. Now, as it says here specifically, that the Second World War had just passed in his vision, and that the Third World War was quickly approaching. Now, we are living in these times that John had seen. And what we had just watched right now with these videos is a collection of just some of the wartime events that are taking place right now. Now, the first video we watched with the U.S. striking the Iranian-backed forces in Syria, that's about 2 months old. That would happened in around October. Now, all these other videos, for the most part, were all recent, right? Now, one thing I also wanted to note is this here from October as well. It's a news clipping that says, just in, thousands of U.S. troops consisting of the LHD-5 and the LSD-50, as well as 2,000 Marines, have now been ordered to immediately deploy to the Eastern Mediterranean amid threats to Israel from Yemen. So this right here, the reason why I want to bring this out is because of these people, Yemen, right? The Houthis. Now, these Yemeni people, they're ultimately Ishmaelites. Okay, they descend from Ishmael, and they're the same people as the Saudi Arabians, the Qatar, the Palestinians, and all those mixed people, which is what Arab means. It's a name that the Greeks put on Ishmael to denote that the people in this region were a mixed people, but namely they all go back to Ishmael or Aram coming back to one of the older bloodlines. Aram was one of the 5 sons of Shem, and was one of the rejected brothers. Okay, the brother that, or the son of Shem that God chose, which the Israelites, which we come from, his name was Arphaxad. Well, you have Aram, who is kind of like the Syria and the older Arab nations, up towards there where Iraq is at, for the most part, and then they also refer to them as Kurds, right? And then you got the lower Arabs, which are mostly Ishmael. But again, they're all mixed, so you really can't, denote exactly who's who. But for the most part, they're all heathens. Now, this group here, the Yemen, they're becoming a big thorn in the side of Esau. And this is why Esau, since October, has been taking decisive actions against these Ishmaelites. Because one, they're causing a lot of problems in that region, right? We just seen a little clip where they're commandeering ships that are going down through the Red Sea. Now, the Red Sea is a very important passage because it allows traffic from the Asian Sea around, China and also India and all that area down there to cross through and avoid going around the Horn of Africa, which cuts off a major part of travel for these corporations and entities who are shipping things back and forth. And this is also another reason why these Edomites, Israelis, and just the European conglomerate of Edomites want to go ahead and create the Ben Gurion Passage, which is going to cut right through Gaza and basically come out in the Mediterranean Sea, right? But again, that's a future project that Esau is hoping to finish, but chances are that's not going to happen before the end events take place. Now, let's read this. It says, this is also back in October when there was a big surge of U.S. military ramping up, and it says, how the U.S. is ramping up firepower in the Middle East to deter Iran from starting World War III, with an armada of 13 warships, over 100 fighter jets, cruise missiles, spy planes, and 2,000 amphibious special forces massing in the region. So this here is kind of like an oxymoron, okay? So what they're doing is they're saying that to have peace, they got to prepare for war, right? And like it says here, right? This is funny, right? It says that they're ramping up firepower in the Middle East to deter Iran from starting World War III. Well, what they're doing is actually is going to invoke the events of World War III, right? It's prophecy in the Bible that it's going to happen, right? The Bible itself says that the Lord is going to do this. Let's get that, in fact. This is Joel 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder parts towards the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. And this here is a prophecy that the Lord is going to basically remove the American army out from over here in America, and basically have these Edomites deploy their forces over into the Middle East, right there in Saudi Arabia, because that's what is basically being pinpointed. It's the land of Saudi, it's the peninsula of Saudi Arabia, I should say, right, which is between the East Sea and the utmost sea, right? Those are basically the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. Now, what we're seeing right now is this prophecy literally coming to play. These devils, right, from Americans to Germans to all these other Edomite coalition countries, are all starting to ship out weapons and military force over to the Middle East. And little by little, it's fulfilling this prophecy that the Lord, not only is he going to bring over here the northern army, right, the American army, and remove them from the land of Babylon, and hence remove the at least these dangers from the Israelites who are dwelling over here in Babylon the Great, America. But he also says that he would gather all the nations of the world together there in the valley of Jehoshaphat. That right there would be the land of Israel, right? Basically just east of Jerusalem, okay? That's where the valley of Jehoshaphat is. Now, this is all starting to happen, right? And why am I making this lesson? Well, because, you see, this is all part of God's plan. You see, because he knew that he had to set up Israelites who were going to share this information with his people. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm ultimately just sharing these rumors of wars and wars themselves with you, so that way you could be made aware, and hence you could then not be caught unaware when things go down, right? This is Isaiah 62:6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of Yahweh B'Shem Hashai, keep not silence. Right? See, so this right here is talking about us, teachers, prophets, right? Brothers in this truth, starting with the apostles. The Lord here has commanded us to not keep silence, to basically teach our people, show our people what is going on, warn you that America, along with its allies, right, the EU, which is described as the beast in the book of Revelations, they are all ramping up for this war. Like, it's really literally going to happen. This is why now you're starting to see the military come out with these commercials that are really trying to actually appeal to, middle American Edomites, instead of like your weird freaking, inclusive commercials. Well, that right there proves that America is actually getting serious about going into war. Right? They've even talked about inducting a lot of these illegal immigrants into the army, so that way they could fill the ranks of the military, which has not been able to meet their recruitment allotments. And that's because, again, the Lord has made the people of Babylon, the Americans, a very weak people. Just look at the youth of these days, man. They're nowhere near in the mindset to go to war, okay? And again, that too itself is prophecy, right? What does the scripture say? That Esau's seed is spoiled and his neighbor and his brother, and he is not. You know, paraphrasing, basically meaning that these devils, these Edomites, have lost their appetite for war, right? They may be into doing other wicked shit, like, you know, going off and killing and torturing and just being wicked, but war has now become unappealing to these people, and that's because the Lord has broken their spirit, right? And again, you just see this in the youth of these Edomites, right? They're totally different people than generations ago, right? Where these people were, as the scriptures describe them, a fierce nation, right? Of a heavy countenance. But again, don't be fooled, because these devils are going to tell you that everything is, you know, going fine, and, you know, the elections are going to take place, and, you know, continue to go buy your trinkets, and, you know, like George Bush says, right? You know, go out there and spend your money, right? Because what they're doing is they need you to spin those gears that make America run, okay? By having people no longer consume and go into debt, this system will collapse. Now, these devils ultimately, they have a plan for collapsing the system themselves, but until they're ready, they're not going to push that agenda. They're going to want you to continue to do what they have you doing, that is being obedient consumers. And again, they're going to lie to your face. They're going to tell you that either things are going fine, that, you know, America's going to win the war, but, you know, we're telling you, right, it is prophesied that America loses this upcoming World War III, along with the NATO powers, right? And that's because the homeland of these Edomites is here in America, and along over there in the European states, right? And it is now time for the end of the Edomite Empire upon the face of the earth, because this is the last nation of the 17 heathen nations that are described in the Bible that will be in rulership before the second coming of the Messiah. So this is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So this is why we're making these lessons, Akim. One is to warn you, as we've been commanded to do by the Lord. And second is to make sure that you understand to not trust these devils, okay? You got to watch out for yourself. You got to make sure that you're, you know, staying up to date with these lessons, making sure you know what's going on. So this way you're not caught unaware and by surprise of when things go down, right? We all seen that movie, Leave the World Behind, right? Which showed you what it's likely going to be like when things go down. Nobody's going to be there announcing America's under attack or nothing. You're more likely going to start seeing services just stop working. Your phone's going to go down. The electricity is going to go out. Things are just not going to be normal, right? And that is likely how you're going to find out that World War III has started. But again, we got to wait and see how all these events prophesied in the Bible are actually going to play out. But what does the scripture say, right? To be prepared and to stay circumspect, which means keep your eyes on the ball, keep your head on the swivel, and make sure that we watch these devils, because again, though it's them that are going to fall in this coming war, they're going to take down a lot of people with them, and it's going to be a lot of those people who aren't paying attention that are going to be caught. So hopefully this video was edifying. Until next time, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kokodash. Shalom.